Really enjoyed the movie.
Thank you.
And I was a big fan of your last film, The Guard.
Oh,
as
great.
well.
Cheers.
Besides yourself, there's a common element between the two, which is actor Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah.
What is it that you enjoy as a director and writer so much about collaborating with Brendan as an actor?
I mean, Brendan, you know, he doesn't suffer fools gladly, but I always say, who does? I mean, why would you suffer a fool gladly? So we have that in common. He's intense when he's working, but then when we're not working, you know, it's good fun to be around. You can have a laugh with him and everything. I think on set, he's very, very prepared. So he would have his script, you know, and it had all of his notes, you know. So he's doing this. He's about to do this scene, but he knows the scene that's before, what he shot before, what he's about to do the following days. And the other actors can see that commitment all the time. It's sort of a forensic attention to detail, I would say. So I guess it raises the game of everyone who's playing opposite.
I was going to
with
say,
him.
if it raises the bar of the other.
Yeah, I mean,
actors
it's
around
not
them.
to say that they wouldn't come fully prepared, but they know they're going to be facing Brendan. I mean, the film is a lot of two-handers, so they know that they're going to get lots of scenes. It's just them and Brendan and no one else, and they have to sort of face off against him. So I think that makes them concentrate, you know.
The film is about a good priest who's maybe living in a bad world around him. I could easily see the Hollywood version of the film being the opposite. You know,
Right,
let's focus on a bad priest living in a good world. Talk about the choice to sort of flip that.
That's what I was assuming they were going to make loads of movies, the kind of propagandistic, but how terrible priests are, and they've done this and they did that, which they did, you know. But it's not original. I always look at Hollywood movies and try to write the exact opposite. So I'm always thinking, what are they going to make? So I'll do the exact opposite. But those movies haven't really come out. Maybe it's like Vietnam, where the war had to be over for 10 years before filmmakers dealt with it properly. Maybe there has to be a period of reflection, I think, an aftermath. So it's only been us and maybe Philomena and Doubt from a few years ago that have sort of dealt with the subject matter. But I mean, it's difficult subject matter. I tried to approach it with humour. Right. You know, that was my way of taking on because it's quite depressing, if you do it straightforwardly.
Well, and I love also, as a fan of mystery movies, you know, we've seen many whodunits.
Yeah.
But this is a who's gonna do it.
Who's gonna do it?
Yeah. I mean, I love that concept.
Yeah, and it's also got the kind of there's a great Hitchcock movie, I Confess, in Montgomery Cliff. The whole idea of you're told something in confessional you're not supposed to reveal and all that. So I always liked that as a hook, and I thought it's like, you know, it gives the film a kind of noirish structure that hopefully you get audiences in because of that.
Right.
But then you can deal with lots of other stuff at the same time while they're thinking about who's it going to be, you know.
Yeah. Is that the trick, to sort of find something interesting for the audience that'll entertain them and get them in, and then they kind of get bombarded with these other ideas?
Yeah, because I don't want to do a straight ahead art house movie that only like 10 people are going to see.
Right.
You know, I want to have my tone, a kind of comic tragic tone. But I want to have a really entertaining, absorbing story that can get me as big an audience as I can, but with my sensibility, which a lot of my dark humour may turn people off, but a lot of people it won't. So, but I'm trying to get that balance, get the biggest audience you can, but still stay true to what you want to do. You
mentioned I Confess, the Hitchcock film, was sort of a inspiration in a sense. For the plot, also the 5 steps of grieving.
Yes.
That was also part of it.
Yeah,
right?
which is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
He kind of goes through all of
that. It goes
that
through
in
it.
this film.
Just when I was writing, it just gave me, it's like 5 movements, so you kind of know where you're heading in a way. So it's just an overview. It just helps in the writing, I found, to have a kind of structure in the back. You don't have to stick to it religiously.
Right.
That isn't a pun.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. But it just helps with the writing.
Help to structure the...
Yeah, it just helps me to kind of write faster, because I know, I've got to head there, I've got to get to a point of anger, I've got to get to a point of depression where he's at his lowest ebb. So it just helps me.
Now, I don't know if this is some big secret we're trying to keep or whatever, but I wanted to ask you, who killed Father James's dog? We don't find out in the movie, right?
That is the one question I get asked at every Q&A, because they want to know that. Well, for people who see the movie, it's one of the characters, after the dog is killed, and there's a big bar scene soon after, one of the characters has a bandage on his hand, which implies when he killed the dog bit him. So if you see the movie twice, you can see who it is.
You can pick up on it. Wait, and why did you decide to leave that element so sort of ambiguous to audiences?
Well, I like a little Easter egg.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, kind of. But there's always I always put like hidden little references in the movie. Sometimes the character's reading a book that refers to something. I think it just makes it. I like watching those films where the more times you see them, you go, oh, they meant that, or that this refers to that. You know, it just, because you're trying to make a movie that people want to watch more than once. That was my intention, yeah.
Well, you know, and I think a lot of filmmakers don't think about that. They think about that first time you're going to see a film, but movies live on forever, and you see them 3, 4, 5 different times.
Yeah, and there's things like, you know, in The Guard, the cop who gets the money payoff. People don't seem to realise, actually, he never gets his comeuppance. He gets away with the money, and he's the cop who turns up in this film with the gay hustler. It's the same cop.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm probably going to bring him back again for the third film.
Was it the same actor too?
Same actor, yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, yeah. So I like doing all that those kind of hidden references within movies. I like all that kind of stuff.
So is there a shared cinematic universe between
well, it's
the Guard
almost
and
that,
the cop?
yeah, it's almost that they're all in the same universe and characters can recur within the same movie. And as I was saying, on the third one, hopefully I'm going to cherry pick a couple of characters from the first 2 films and bring them back for the third one.
Do you enjoy doing it that way? Does that give you a thrill as a filmmaker?
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about, you know, I don't enjoy writing. I find it quite boring. So I'm trying to, it kind of amuses me to put in these hidden sort of references. It keeps me ticking over and thinking about it in a way. And so if it amuses me, I'm hoping, you know, it amuses other people.
Besides Brendan, there's a couple actors in this film that I love seeing in anything, and I thought they're great in this. Aidan Gillen.
Yeah.
Tell me about working with him.
Aidan I've known for a long time, because my brother Martin McDonagh, before he made In Bruges and Seven Psychopaths, he was a playwright, so we knew a lot of Irish actors. So I think I've known Aidan for about 20 years. And he did my first film, a short film, which kind of, you know, short movies, nobody ever sees them. But I noticed not long ago on YouTube, we now have like nearly 4,000 hits. And I was like, why have we got 4? It's because he's in it from Game of Thrones. Right. Michelle Fairley's in Game of Thrones. And Liam Cunningham is in Game of Thrones. So all these Game of Throners have found the short and they're all watching it. I'd wanted to work with him on The Guard, but the part he wanted to play, I'd offered it to a different actor. And he's just, you know, he's somebody I know, he will play a part even if it's only 3 or 4 scenes. You know, it's not all about I have to be the lead.
Right.
You know, so that's what I like about Aidan.
Well, the other actor I want to ask you about is Emmet Walsh.
Yes.
One of the legendary character actors in American cinema. I mean, what was it like working with him?
Oh, it's great. He's exactly as you'd expect him to be.
Yeah.
He first came on the set and he said to me, I've just met your wife. You have great taste. I wish I could say the same for her. So he has that kind of acerbic sort of dialogue. And I was talking about In Bruges one day, and I said, you know, the director of that's my brother, Michael. And he said, yes, I do know. He's a successful one in the family. I'm only doing this movie so I can get to him. So that's his cantankerous, sort of lovable sort of attitude. You know, there's there's this old rule, the Stanton Walsh rule. Have you heard of that?
No.
That any movie that has Emmet Walsh or Harry Dean Stanton can't be all bad. And Martin had worked with Harry Dean Stanton in Seven Psychopaths, so I thought I'll get Emmet in.
Yeah, and then you cover all the bases.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's perfect. I love it. We'll end on this Stanton Walsh rule. That's perfect.
Cheers, man.
Great. Thanks.